Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down everything that you need to know in the sports world, including Luka Doncic facing his old team tonight, including Shedeur Sanders not throwing at the combine, and a few other topics that you will find out later in the show. And you can't teach that. Bada boom. Man of the people in the room, G Money Grant Mitchell. How you doing?
I'm feeling appreciative, Tanner, because I've got a little story I want to share. I'm feeling appreciative because, as you know, me and my girl were moving about a week and a half from move-in date. We're moving into a townhouse, our first townhouse together. So naturally, moving from apartments to townhouse, we've got some extra space. We got some furniture pieces we need to buy, a lot of space we need to fill, and that means we're spending a lot of money right now. So last night, I got a little plus 1,800 six-leg parlay cooking. One of the legs on that is the Minnesota Timberwolves plus 12.5, which is disrespectful. It's the Timberwolves, still an NBA team, plus 12.5. But they are playing the Thunder. They're down by 25 points in the third quarter. They're down by 16 points with 3 minutes left. They end up winning outright. So the Timberwolves came through. That boy, Terrence Shannon Jr., Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they were balling. They covered that leg. All the other legs had basically no problem. Aside from the Trailblazers money line, they, for some reason, they let the Jazz almost come back. They had a shot at the buzzer to win, but they end up missing that plus 1,800 six-leg parlay cashed. And the bill on that furniture stuff doesn't feel as bad as it did 24 hours ago.
Love that. You know why they won last night, though, right?
Who, the Timberwolves?
Yeah.
What's that?
Because Mike Conley wasn't on the floor for the majority of the game.
Don't hate on Mike Conley.
Dude, he's terrible. He's trash. He's straight trash. I needed 4+ assists from him last night for a ladder challenge, and he had hit in like 9 straight games, I believe, and he had 3 fouls in 7 minutes and then barely played the rest of the game. So he's terrible. He's dead to me. He should retire. He's 37.
Yeah, I mean, he's at the point where he can still play NBA minutes. You know, he's that good, but he should not be starting like the way he is. I understand his importance to the Timberwolves, and in some ways he was a lot more needed a couple of years ago as he was showing Anthony Edwards what it was like to be a playmaker. But now that Ant's kind of learned some of that stuff, and the Timberwolves also just have some good pieces on that team, even though they're barely above 500. I don't know if retirement's the right move, but yeah, he should not be in as big of a role as he currently is. And if he does want to retire, he has a future in coaching. That's all that I think he's won a bunch of like teammate of the year awards, and everybody who's been his teammate says that's what his next career is going to be. So
good, because he can't play basketball. 131 points, 1 assist, 14 minutes. Unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Anyways, Grant, we got a lot to talk about today, but before we do that, make sure you guys check out WSN.com. Grant, why do they need to check out WSN.com?
Yeah, if you guys are into sports or sports betting in any shape, which we would assume you would be, that's why you're watching this podcast, then go to WSN.com. That's the World Sports Network, where we talk about sports from all over the world. We got a team of experts that handle NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB is about to start. We got MMA, soccer, volleyball, the Olympics, anything you can imagine, you will find it there. We preview big games. We share our favorite player props. Tanner and myself are giving out betting picks. We're looking at championship odds. And above all, we have promo codes. So if you want some bonus bets, deposit matches, insurance bets, things of that nature, you will find that at WSN.com. So go check it out.
Yeah, make sure you guys get on there, especially before March Madness, because we'll have a ton of content cooking for that. All right, Grant.
And
tonight,
you know there are going to be some special deals on the sports books during March Madness, too.
The books want you to bet for March Madness. They want you to bet on coin flips, basically, because that's what college basketball is. Got Appalachian State tonight. I don't know if it'll hit. They are facing Georgia Southern, I believe. Big 100-spot difference in KenPom, but both teams are trash, so I don't know how that game's going to go. And then also have the Celtics tonight, Grant, for my ladder. So App State and the Celtics money line. You like that?
I like that. You know what? That actually just triggered a thought in my head, and it's fitting because we are going to talk about the NFL Combine on this show. You mentioned Georgia Southern. I was watching a YouTube video yesterday on the most dominant NFL Combine performances of all time. And the way they ranked it was, where did a player rank in their percentile compared to, I think it was compared to everybody, not just their position group, but everybody. So like if this player ran a 4-4-1 and they did 28 bench reps, like where were the percentiles of all those, average them out, and that gave them their average score. Do you know what the best NFL combine performance ever is?
Was it a notable player?
I mean, they were like, they had a career.
No, I don't know.
I brought up Georgia Southern because it was one of the Georgia Southern alum. It was Jerick McKinnon.
Okay.
He ran a 4.3. He had like a 40-something vertical leap. He did 35 reps of 225 on bench, which as a 200-pound running back is kind of insane. His shuttles, his 6-cone, whatever, all that stuff is off the charts. So Jerick McKinnon, owner of the most impressive NFL combine ever.
Shout out Jerick McKinnon. No,
Lane Johnson was number 3. I forget who number 2 was, but Lane Johnson was 3rd.
Lane Johnson's a freak of an athlete for sure. Absolute freak of an athlete. So no surprise there. Grant, should we start with Luka Doncic and the Lakers?
Big night tonight, so I would say yes.
All right. So Luka Doncic, 10 o'clock game. That sucks. 10 o'clock blows.
That's the problem. Like when you've got 2 marquee teams and they're meeting on the West Coast, it's always going to be that 10 o'clock time slot. And it's just not great for an East Coast fan.
Like move it up to 9. Sorry. Like people want to watch this game tonight, but they don't want to stay up till that time. And also, I would be more excited about this game if it was in Dallas rather than in Los Angeles tonight. I think that would be a cooler atmosphere to it. But just from like a winning standpoint, before we even talk about Luka, I don't think there's a chance the Lakers don't win and cover in this game. I think they are going to be full go trying to get the job done for Luka tonight. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, so if anybody doesn't know out there, speaking of WSN.com, I write daily game previews of the biggest games of the day. And at the bottom, I always share my pick in a major market. It's usually a spread, but I had a total a couple of days ago. I took the spread in this one, and I took the Lakers spread. And, I mean, Dallas is just extremely injured. Gafford, Lively, goodness, why am I blanking? PJ Washington is banged up. Dwight Powell is out. There's another big name I'm forgetting. I don't remember who, but they're missing a bunch of guys, and LA is playing the best basketball in the league. That's not just my opinion. That's what the numbers say. They just beat the Nuggets by 23 on the road. Now they're going home, and this is Luka's revenge game. Yeah, like, you know, this might be a 6-point game in the third quarter, but I see this ending as a 20, 30-point difference.
Yeah, I just don't see a world where the Lakers don't win this game tonight, because when you look at not only the revenge factor too, just the stamina, the better team right now, it's definitely Los Angeles. Grant, Lakers making a little playoff push right now in the power rankings. I've seen people ranking them as high as like 4th in the overall NBA power rankings. Would you still agree with that, even though they don't have a big man?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. I think the Celtics and the Cavs are clearly in the top 4 somewhere, as are the Thunder. And so really, I mean, that puts the Lakers at the 4 spot. If you wanted to argue like they were playing it, if we go heavy recency bias, if you want to argue the Lakers are top 2, top 3, you could make the case. I think if you include the season as a whole and kind of also project to the future, then that's where they fall into that 4 spot. But the team that was rivaling them there was the Denver Nuggets, and they just slaughtered them. I dove into the numbers on that game, by the way. And just credit to JJ Redick for an insanely good game plan. Michael Porter Jr. took 14 threes in that, or 14 shots in that game. Only 4 were threes. So you kept him away from where he's most dangerous. Russell Westbrook took the most shots on the team. The 7 shot attempts that Jokic took were his fewest in a game in which he played 30 minutes since 2023. And his 12 points were the fewest he'd scored in a game in which he played 30 minutes since 2020. So Jokic's worst scoring game in 5 years, essentially. I don't see how you don't put the Lakers above the Nuggets. The Lakers were playing better than the Nuggets up to that point. The Nuggets were just on a win streak because they played a bunch of bad teams, and the Lakers went to their home court and slaughtered them. So, yeah, I think you got to put the Lakers in the top 4 at the very least, if not higher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Can the Lakers beat the Thunder in a 7-game series?
So this is where it gets tricky because you've got to balance analysis and what you can see with kind of the unspoken rules of sports in general. We always, and life, honestly, we always hear the phrase experience is the best teacher in life, right? Thunder are not experienced. The closest thing they've got to that sort of championship feel is when they played the Milwaukee Bucks in the in-season tournament final, and they lost by like 22 points. So I still think that was good for them, because even though it wasn't the NBA finals, it was a championship game. I think that was good for them. Their advanced numbers, the Thunder, are off the charts. It's ridiculous if you go look at their efficiency and stuff, not just overall, but if you look at the Thunder against the best teams in the league, they have dominated them the same way they've dominated the worst teams in the league. So on paper, it all leads to the Thunder, but Luka has dominated the Thunder whenever they've crossed paths in recent years, dominated them in the playoffs last year. It's LeBron James. It's the smartest basketball player we've ever seen. And the Lakers are actually playing the best defense in basketball right now, which has been the Thunder's calling card. They have the best defense in the NBA for the year overall. So the Thunder would still be favored in that series, but I don't think it's an open and shut case. I think it does get very interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Have you been seeing any of the Dan Hurley stuff lately? How he's going,
just like some of the quotes and stuff he's been saying?
Yeah, some of the quotes, but now it's starting to recirculate. Like, okay, well, he turned down Kentucky and he turned down the Lakers, and the Lakers fans are like super pumped that they don't have Dan Hurley on their sideline, whatever you call it in basketball. So they're all pumped about that. I think JJ Redick was the right man for this job, obviously. And I think Dan Hurley is meant to be a college coach. However, people are like really slandering him right now. As a Lakers fan, are you happy that you don't have Dan Hurley as your head coach?
Well, I just want to say, slandering or making fun of Dan Hurley, it's low-hanging fruit. Like, yeah, the back-to-back national champion not having a great year. If I have one bad year and in the other two I win a national championship, you make fun of me all you want. I did my job. He doesn't have to win a title again for the rest of his career. He's a made man. So the fact that he was able to stay where he was, part of the whole negotiations with the Lakers, he was also able to get the same money at UConn if you factor in taxes and everything as he would with the Lakers. So the fact I'm on the same salary, I'm where I was already comfortable, where my family was comfortable, where I have connections in a pipeline, and where I've won 2 national championships. Dan Hurley won that whole situation. JJ Redick also won this situation because JJ was a huge risk. There's no doubt about that. It's easy to go back and look in hindsight and say, well, they made the right choice. It was a risk. Now it ended up working out, and this was always the potential with JJ. He's described himself as a sicko. He's been super in-depth and analytical on his podcast. So if you saw him on First Take or anything like that, it was obvious he didn't belong with the talking heads. It was obvious he was a nerd who was about the details. Starts the podcast with LeBron. They don't talk about anything aside from the intricacies of basketball. And if you listen to his comments after they beat the Nuggets, he said, I haven't slept in 2 days. I've been creating this game plan. So everything they hoped JJ would be is what he has been. So I think it worked out for Dan Hurley. I think it worked out for JJ. I don't think anybody should I don't think Lakers fans should be bitter or anything. I think everybody got what they wanted. It's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Grant. So before we move on here, let's talk some props, some Luka props for this game. I think a great way to attack this one is going against Luka in one market, and that is the top point scorer. We're getting Luka for minus 125 right now because the Luka revenge game factor is coming into this one so heavy. You're getting Kyrie for plus 300. You're getting LeBron for plus 370. I don't know if I lean towards LeBron for plus 370 because I do think Luka will have more points than him, but long shot there, potentially Austin Reeves for 15-1 and then Kyrie for 3-1 when Luka's minus 125. When you look at how banged up the Mavericks are right now and you need a guy to score for you tonight, probably going to be Kyrie. So I could see him potentially having more points than Luka.
I think that is a great way to approach it. That Kyrie bet specifically. What were the odds on that?
3-1.
3-1. Yeah, I would definitely take that risk. I'm with you on everything you said. Kyrie, so over his last 6 games, he has never scored between 20 and 30 points. Over his last 6 games, he has 3 games with a 19 or fewer. He has 3 games with 30 or higher. I'm just going to read them to you. So 17, 35, 42, 30, 13, 19, 34. So actually, over his last 7, it would be 4 above 30, 3 under 20. The reason for that, the teams or the games in which he scored more than 30 points, teams have left him in single coverage, said, we're going to let you do your thing. We know your teammates aren't going to beat us. And the games where he hasn't gotten that high, it's, Kyrie, you're the only guy we should even bother guarding on this floor right now. We're going to double you, make someone else beat us. So it really just does come down to the Lakers strategy. If you looked at what they did against Jokic and the Nuggets, they were doubling Jokic even when he was off the ball. even when the ball wasn't in his hands, they were making sure he didn't get to the position he wanted. They were making sure he didn't get the ball in his hands. So if the Lakers opt to do something similar, then that kind of puts this down the drain. But if they guard Kyrie straight up and say, we know that Kessler Edwards, we know that Omar Maxence Prosper is not going to beat us, then Kyrie's got a great shot of scoring like 35 to 40 points in this game.
Love it. Yeah, I think Luka for minus 125 is a little too much there. I think that should be closer to even money. So I will gladly take what will probably be the highest score for the Dallas Mavericks tonight for 3-1. Any other thoughts on this game before we move on, Grant?
I would actually look at Luka assists here as well. Now his line is 7.5. I'm looking at FanDuel, so there could be better odds out there. I'll admit I haven't checked. Over 7.5 assists for minus 148. I don't really bet above minus 150, so we're kind of at the edge of the threshold I would bet. But if you want to look at an alternate line like 10 plus, let's see here. So if you go over 9.5, you can get that for plus 174 again. And this is without line shopping. You might find better odds. The reason that the Lakers were so successful in that Denver game is they realized they have 3 ball dominant guys really, but 2 especially, LeBron and Luka. And if you're going to put LeBron on the ball, Luka's not going to move off the ball. He's not going to be setting screens. He's not going to be cutting. He's not going to be doing all this stuff on the weak side. So put the ball in Luka's hands. Let LeBron be that guy, because LeBron is going to set screens. He is going to run to the cut. He is going to try to catch lobs, all that. If you look at the usage rate, Luka had, I think it was a 36% usage rate last game. LeBron was at like 28%. Point being, ball's in Luka's hands. So Dallas is going to know they don't want Luka to beat them. They'll probably try to get the ball out of his hands as well. So I think Luka for a lot of assists tonight could be the play.
Luka assists, Kyrie top point scorer, and watch that game at 10 o'clock on TNT. It's going to be a late one. Anyways, Grant, we got the combine coming up this week. Quarterbacks are much later in the week, but one will not be participating, and that is Shedeur Sanders will not take part in on-field drills. He's not the first quarterback ever to opt out of throwing at the combine. In a way, it makes sense why quarterbacks would do so. You're not working with your own receivers. You probably have more to lose than more to gain. However, with that being said, and I know, we may have conflicting opinions on this. I think we may be in the same area on some parts and in different ballparks on others, but I hate this opt-out era that we were falling into. And I want to give Shedeur and everybody on Colorado praise for participating in their bowl game. That was awesome. But the fact of the matter is, I know scouts don't maybe view it as a red flag, but I want to see guys that want to compete. And it's not going to impact where I draft them if I vet them in the team interviews and all that stuff. But at the same time, too, I want my quarterback to go compete. And if they aren't competing, in a way, it shows me a little bit of a, not red flag, but something's up. Like, what are they trying to hide here? Are they afraid to work with other receivers? Like, I don't really care as much about their arm strength. I don't care as much about their accuracy in this. I want to see how they interact with other teammates. I want to see how they interact with the other quarterbacks at the combine. What they're like when they make a good throw, what they're like when they make a bad throw. How do they respond? How do they adjust and adapt? And that's the things that we do miss when these guys aren't working with just new wide receivers.
All of that's very valid. I'm with you. I would love to see, in a perfect world, we would love to see everybody compete. We would love to see the All-Star game, the Pro Bowl be played at 100% intensity. We would love for the preseason to matter. We would love everybody to play their bowl games, everybody to go to the combine. It would be great, but it's just not the reality of the world. Now, you're going to get some people who defy that, and Shedeur, Travis Hunter, those guys, Jimmy Horn Jr., who's going to be picked in this draft, those guys played in the bowl game. So like you said, credit to them. They defied that kind of, stereotype's not the right word, but that precedent that's come into play as of late. I don't have as big of a problem as people stepping out of the combine, even though I agree with what you said. But I think the combine, it's a very strategic event. And for someone like Shedeur Sanders, who I don't think he's going to test extremely well. If he were to go there and run like a 4.4, then okay, he might have just made himself the number 1 pick. But I don't think his 40-yard dash would have been great. I don't really care about my quarterback's bench press. I don't care what his 3-cone drill is. I don't care about his vertical leap. I don't care about all that stuff. And when it comes to actually throwing the ball, we know what Shedeur was when he was in rhythm. We said this numerous times on the show throughout the course of the season. When Shedeur Sanders is in rhythm, he's clearly the best player in college football. When he's throwing against no defense at the combine, you're going to get that same thing. So I don't think scouts had anything to learn from a physical standpoint. Now, from how he treats the players around him, his teammates in this case, as you mentioned, that would be important. But he is going for the interviews. He's going for the medicals. Teams thinking they're probably going to learn from that. And I also think what we haven't discussed here is we know that Dion, Shedeur, the whole Sanders crew want to be strategic. They want to be selective with where both Shedeur and Travis end up playing. So if they're kind of looking at the cards right now and they're saying, we think Shedeur is going to fall to the Raiders and that's where we want him to go. Or we think the Titans like Cam Ward, so that means the Giants are going to get Shedeur. We want to go there. That's cool. If they are confident Shedeur could go there and run a 4-4, run a 4-5, and he could show us some things that we hadn't seen on tape and move himself up to the number 1 pick, then I can understand them not doing that if they don't want him to go to Tennessee. And let's be honest, who wants to go to Tennessee right now? So again, it's a strategic thing, and I'm not as quick to judge people with their decisions at the combine as I am for things like a bowl game or the end of a regular season, stuff like that.
Yeah, it is strategic. With that being said, there's a process, and I hate the direction that we're going, and more so in college football, I would say, with the opt-outs and the bowl games. Like this, when you look at these kids who are getting paid to play college football, I look at Cam Ward in the second half of the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Not that the Pop-Tarts Bowl even matters, but
the Pop-Tarts Bowl should be the new college football championship game.
It should be. It's pretty cool, honestly. Like if I want to play in a non-major bowl game, I'm playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. But with that being said, when you look at Cam Ward, what he did, like not playing in the second half, don't play in the first half if you're not going to play in the second half. You walked away from your teammates, and whether that was planned or not, you walked away from your teammates in a time where they needed you to go win the game. So don't even start the game. And that's from a betting standpoint for the people. That's for a, your own standpoint from just how you look. It doesn't look good. I'd rather have you sit the full game. I don't like the direction we're going in. I think there's a process. It's a privilege to compete at the combine. Like that's what we're forgetting here. It's a privilege to be one of the people selected to go throw and go do drills at the combine. And we're getting away from it. And we're just putting these big opportunities, like we're muting them. Like this is a big moment for a kid. Kids want to go compete at the combine. You have a chance to do so. And then you're just passing it off because, I'm going to let my film speak for itself. It just doesn't sit well with me. I know it might not be a red flag, but I want to get back to the days where we're saying, hey, the draft process is you play in your bowl game because the bowl game matters. And I want to see kids that want to go out and play their last college football game. You go to the Senior Bowl, you compete at the Senior Bowl, you go to the combine, you compete at your pro day, and then you let the tape speak for itself after that.
I'm with you. And I'm trying to remember where I had this conversation the other day. Oh, you know what it was? It was actually back to Luka. It was when the Lakers lost to the Hornets. I went back and I looked at some clips at the end of the game, and Luka was basically not trying on defense and was a big reason they lost that game. And I was watching it, and I was texting one of my buddies who also works in sports, and I said, I've never been a professional athlete. I was never a highly recruited high school athlete. I never made any money playing sports. So I don't know what it's like to have millions and millions of dollars at stake. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to have certain privileges and be kind of conditioned, I guess, to ignore the less important parts of sports. But someone like me, it didn't matter what we were doing. Like we could be playing a game of Connect 4 right now. I'm trying to win whatever it is. It's hardwired into me. I want to compete. I want to be the best, whatever, even if it's a friendly thing or if it's for a national championship. I'm going to be all in because that's just what I do. So I'm not Shedeur Sanders, and Shedeur Sanders has been far more successful than me. So I'm not giving him advice. I'm just saying I can't relate to the feeling of, like you said, not wanting to compete. If I was distinguished enough to go to the combine and I was in a position where I know I'm not the favorite to be the first overall pick, I might not want to go to Tennessee, but at the same time, I want to show that I'm better than Cam Ward, and I'm sure he wants to show the same thing. These guys work out together. If Shedeur said I'm going, I bet Cam Ward would go, and you could have a competition right there. And it would just set up storylines for the future. Iron sharpens iron. It allows you to go against the other best guy in your draft class. I don't fault it. I just can't relate to it.
Yeah, I don't fault it, but I can't relate to it. That's a good way of saying it. Because all we see on Twitter is just these videos of Cam and Shedeur talking shit to each other. So I'd love to see him compete. Cam has not declared whether he is going to throw or not at the combine, but it just goes back to I want to see these guys compete. And I think I know it happened before the NIL era, like quarterbacks did opt out, but the NIL era has destroyed everything about college sports. And that's like for Shedeur, man, Shedeur's set because he's a Sanders in general. Like it don't matter for him. But like as far as his own money, he's already got more money in the bank than a lot of these rookies in the NFL. So what does he care? Like if you don't throw at the combine when it comes to a money standpoint. So it is more strategic where you take 15 years ago, like nobody's got money. Like this is the moment to shine and become a higher draft pick. And if you become a higher draft pick, you make more money and you go compete. Where now it's totally different. So it's a sad era that we're moving in. I think the kids deserve to get paid, obviously, in college football, 100%. Nobody goes to, I forget who it was. I think Gary Vaynerchuk said it, but nobody goes to Michigan to like be in the band. Like you go to watch football games and the football team owns the school. With that being said, it needs to be regulated because we're getting these moments where the opt-out era is becoming normalcy. And at least for the bowl games, I know this is a little off subject, but if kids are getting paid through NIL, you need to play in the bowl games. If you are getting a paycheck, you should be playing every game of your season if you are healthy.
Yeah, when contracts start coming into everything, I would imagine that's going to be written into those pretty quickly.
Yeah, because it's going to make a better product in college football because if there's more games that matter, more people are going to care.
So, question, and related to the combine, but on a different note, I want to ask you a question about Travis Hunter because obviously he's one of the top guys in this class, the reigning Heisman winner, great player. One thing we've discussed on the show, first, we've gone back and forth on whether he should be a receiver, whether he should be a DB. He's listed as a DB in the combine, but I think that might be because there may be more questions to answer about him as a DB than him as a wide receiver. The big thing has been Coach Prime can say he's fine playing both ways. It's not true. Just the way your body works, you can't play that many snaps and be at your best. So there were probably the most parts of every game he played, he was a lesser version of himself than he should have been if he had only been playing one way. So let's say everything we know about Travis is amplified. What if he goes to the combine? What if he runs a 4.2? What if he has a 43-inch vertical leap? I don't care about a bench press for a cornerback and a receiver, but point being, what if he kills this combine? What if he is the most athletic player in this class? Is he going to go past Shedeur and Cam Ward? Is he going to be the first pick?
I don't think so. And it really comes down to what Tennessee wants to do at one. And if I was Tennessee, I would not be considering a quarterback at one at all. I would be looking for a guy like Travis Hunter, potentially. I would be looking for an Abdul Carter, because two of your biggest needs, you need a wide receiver, you need an edge player. And I don't know if I'm taking Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. I might take him to play defense who can work on offense as well. I think that's the best way to use him, like play him at corner and also bring him in for packages on offense. But I wouldn't take the quarterback because I have the quarterback right now. And if you're telling me Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders were not going to be first round picks a year ago, and every draft is different, and you have a guy in the future that you think you could help your football team who's in college right now, I'm not spending up on a quarterback. Like I'm going to trade that pick to somebody who needs a quarterback, and I'm going to take either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and they set themselves up to do that. So it really comes down to what Tennessee does at one. I don't know. I don't think there's anything that Travis Hunter can do at the combine necessarily to improve his stock at a position. I think he's a freak athlete. He's going to test well. He's going to move well. He's going to do wide receiver drills well. He's going to do his corner drills well. So I think you're going to see just a normal performance out of him because he's a good athlete. But it comes down to what do the Titans want to do first? And if they want to take a quarterback, Travis Hunter has no chance of going first.
Well, if you ask BetMGM what the Titans want to do, Cam Ward minus 150 favorite to be the first pick in the draft. After that is Abdul Carter at plus 150, Travis Hunter third at 6-1, Shedeur Sanders fourth at 8-1. After that, no player is higher than 66-1, and it's not listed here, but off the top of my head, I believe that was, I think I know Jalen Milroe was in that mix. I know Jackson Dart was in that mix. I think James Pierce Jr. was in that mix. And maybe Kelvin, or not Kelvin Banks. Will Campbell, I think, might have been in that mix as well.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe, forget about it.
I was watching Joel Klatt's podcast though the other day because I like Joel Klatt. He's my favorite college football guy, and he did his rankings of the quarterbacks, and he said you have 3 tiers. You have the Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders tier, which we have talked about. We agree with that. He said you have the Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe tier, which we've also agreed about. We're more sure on Jackson Dart what he actually is right now, but Jalen Milroe has the potential. And then he said after that, it's everybody else.
I will gladly take Jackson Dart any day of the week to play quarterback for me over Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe in the bowl game, when they were running the ball, his feet were straight, like they were parallel to each other. When they were throwing the ball, they were staggered every single time. You think Michigan had a month and a half to prepare for that bowl game and didn't pick that up? And I don't know if it was just doing it in that game, because I feel like that would have been, examined way before. But in the bowl game, he was doing it every damn time. Feet were staggered for a pass. And it was like a massive stagger. It wasn't little. So yeah, I don't think I want Jalen Milroe being my quarterback right now. And based on how we saw, Jalen Milroe's played a lot of football too, so I don't think you can really make the comparison to a Anthony Richardson at all. I think they're 2 different players. I'd rather probably have Jalen Milroe because he played at a national championship level in his junior year, at least. In his senior year, there were times where it was good and times where it was bad. But you can attribute that to maybe Coach Saban being there rather than Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, I wonder if that whole Saban piece comes into it, because he improved a lot with Saban in that junior year. It looked like he actually could have been something. The senior year completely fell off. I'm trying to remember. Milroe might have started the year as the Heisman favorite, or he was certainly up there. So I guess it's kind of you're caught between 2 minds of, we saw the progression and then it stopped. So was that because a bad coach came in, or was it he progressed with the best coach college football has ever seen, and as soon as he lost that, he stopped?
Especially after the Georgia game, I think he had a massive one. And also, too, I'm not picking on Ryan Williams by any means, but Ryan Williams' impact on games was a lot smaller later in the season than it was early in the season. I think Ryan Williams kind of burst onto the scene like, wow, this kid's 17, 18. He's going to be good. But, it was clear by the end of the season there were games where he was outmatched, where then it's funny for Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. We didn't really talk about him early in the season. And then towards the end of the season, Jeremiah Smith becomes this freak. And I'm looking at Smith versus Ryan Williams. And I'm like, these kids are both freshmen. I'm taking Jeremiah. Ryan Williams looks like a freshman. Jeremiah Smith looks like a second-year player in the NFL.
Yeah, I look at them as I look at Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, kind of, where Jamar Chase is unreal. He is incredible. Clearly the second best receiver in the NFL. Awesome, perennial first-team All-Pro guy. Nothing bad to say about him. He's not Justin Jefferson. That's how I feel about Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith right now.
I think it's a much bigger gap. And I know that they're professionals, so I think Ryan Williams to Jeremiah Smith is a much bigger gap. I'm looking at Jeremiah Smith towards the end of the season, or not Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, starting on October. Let's call it. He didn't have 100 yards since the Georgia game. He had 177. Then he had 82, 32, 73. Then it gets really bad. 53, 29, 36, 37, 53. And then 8 yards in the bowl game. He was a non-factor later in the season, and I think we were really excited about Alabama because they beat a Georgia team that was better than they played it on the road against Alabama for sure. But this Alabama team overall could have easily made the playoffs. With that being said, it just wasn't their year. I think the new year of Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Williams is your biggest impact player. He's only a freshman. Jalen Milroe got worse throughout the year, so it just wasn't their moment.
Just to put a bow on this Ryan Williams conversation, I would say also Jeremiah Smith is clearly further along with puberty and getting his man body than Ryan Williams is. So I think the gap will close there. And, if you're down on Jalen Milroe, I'm not saying Will Howard is amazing, but Will Howard had a better year throwing the ball than Jalen Milroe did. So it also made it easier for Jeremiah Smith to succeed than for Ryan Williams.
Will Howard's a dog. I will.
I think he'll get drafted.
Will Howard's a dog. Yeah. There's you look at the later echelon of quarterbacks, Will Howard is significantly better than that entire bottom group of
Let me
quarterbacks.
throw some names at you, and you tell me if you think any of them are better than Will Howard.
Yeah.
Kyle McCord.
No.
And keep in mind, better in an NFL context than a college one.
Not even close.
Dylan Gabriel.
Can he see over the offensive line?
Quinn Ewers, your guy.
I love Quinn's going to be a great backup quarterback in the NFL. There is no doubt in my mind. I will probably take Will Howard at 6'4", 235 to have a better potential career. But when I think who's going to have a longer career in the NFL, it's going to be Quinn Ewers.
Curtis Rourke.
No. Come on.
Trying to think of who else. I don't know how many Louisville games you watch. Tyler Shaw, Shaw, however you say his name.
Nobody if you say that name to the national, just the general population, nobody's going to know who it is. So no.
Riley Leonard.
Oh my God. Riley Leonard should be playing in the UFL like this spring. Truthfully, he cannot throw the football. Riley Leonard, how big is he? Is he 6'5"?
He's big because he was a basketball player. Let me see.
He could play tight end, maybe.
He thought he was going to play college basketball.
I would take him at tight end. That dude, he's tough.
He's 6'4", 216.
I'd beef him up a little bit and try to play him at tight end or in the slot, or like play him like a Taysom Hill a little bit, because that's all he can do for you. He can't throw. If you need him to throw, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and no, you're right. If he could catch a little bit, he wouldn't be awful. He can run. He's good. I can see him running after the catch over in the middle of the field.
Like in the Ohio State game, a lot of games too. I mean, he took a beating a lot of the time, and he bounced right back up. I like the competitiveness of him. I really do. But I will gladly take Will Howard over all those quarterbacks. And I can make the case that Will Howard's going to be better than Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. There is a world where Will Howard has a better NFL career than both of them.
I just don't know if he'll get on the field.
I don't know if he will either, but if he gets a chance to play, he's 6'4". He's 225. He throws a really nice football. You can make a case that he's going to be just as good as they are if he gets the chance. I don't think he'll ever get that chance. But if he did, you never know.
It's also hard to evaluate because opposing defenses had to play like pretty strict cover 2 a lot of the time because of the receivers Ohio State has. And then Ohio State could run him out of cover 2 if they wanted. They had a solid offensive line. And if the offense was ever in a bind, the defense was going to bail them out. Like it's the same thing we say with Ohio State quarterbacks all the time. You know, they've got the deck stacked for them. And comparatively, if we're looking at CJ Stroud, if we're looking at Justin Fields, Will Howard was the worst of those guys, and Stroud's been really good. Fields is a backup right now. You know, are we confident Howard's going to go in and make noise in the NFL?
But not if he doesn't get a chance, and the way where he's drafted, he won't get a chance. But again, I'd rather be the starting quarterback in the NFL because you have more long-term success and longevity. But if you're a 3rd, 4th round quarterback, you're 100% making the roster. You're 100% going to be a backup, and you're probably going to get the chance to learn from a decent quarterback. Like that is the benefit. So when you do get your time to shine, you might have a better chance of success. Like when I'm looking at this quarterback class, it's not good at all. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Miller, Will Howard, like nobody jumps off the page, where last year you had 3 quarterbacks at the top of the list, like jump off the page. It's just a unbelievable class. So it's hard to say any of these guys are going to be good. That's why if I'm the Tennessee Titans at number 1, I don't take a quarterback because I don't have a guy that I know for a fact is somebody who is going to deliver for me. I already have Will Levis. You might as well give the kid another year and see what he can do. And if you tank, you've got quarterbacks coming next year that are just as good as Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward.
You know who I think is the smartest player in the NFL?
Who?
Sam Hartman. Can I explain why?
I love Sam Hartman.
I know you do, so you'll like this. I think Sam Hartman is the smartest player in the NFL because he went undrafted. He knew he probably wasn't going to make a roster. So you know what he did when he signed with the Commanders for whatever it is, you know, before they make the cuts, whatever that contract is called, he became best friends with Jaden Daniels. And those guys are like inseparable. They are the same draft class, even though, again, Hartman was undrafted. You're not going to cut your franchise quarterback's best friend. You know what I mean? So They keep him on the practice squad. They bring him to the games. If they need, he's the emergency quarterback sometimes. Like when Mariota was injured, Hartman was there. He was the emergency quarterback. and he's probably going to be in Washington for 7 to 10 years, even if he never gets to play, just because he's friends with the starting quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the starting quarterback can dictate who their backup is in a way, because they need somebody they trust, you know?
Yeah.
They need that guy that's going to help them prepare too. Like if Jaden Daniels, like, from what I hear, he's a very early riser and he gets to the facility early. I guarantee Sam Hartman is right there with him in the morning and they're studying film together. And that's exactly what you need. And Sam Hartman, I mean, again, if once you get to that certain point in the NFL, if you've been, and again, when Sam Hartman gets his chance in the preseason this year, like he has to play well. But if he plays well in the preseason, if he plays well in the few moments that he'll ever get on the field and he's a good teammate, he ain't going anywhere. And he's probably going to have a long career in the NFL. Backup quarterbacks can thrive in the NFL as long as they play well in the preseason and they don't get on the field in the regular season.
I think Sam Hartman could actually be okay. I don't know if that's a bad take, but
better than Riley Leonard. I would take if the Notre Dame had Sam Hartman playing quarterback for them this year, I don't know if they don't win the national championship. I think Ohio State was better, but they are a much more dangerous team than what we saw this entire year.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, that game was done as soon as it started. It wouldn't have been like that, I don't think.
No, and again, Notre Dame made the run late. Like Ohio State took their foot off the gas. It was clear who was the better team there. Even if Notre Dame gets the ball back, I don't trust them to drive the field at all to win.
I know we're kind of going through our final topics here. Can I now? I don't know if you have anything else, but I wanted to read a story before we close out.
Read a story to close it, Grant.
Are you familiar with the name Andre Curbelo?
No. Should I be?
Former Illinois basketball player. I don't know. I think this might be his 5th year, 6th year. I could be wrong. Might be a regular senior, but I believe he won a Big Ten championship at Illinois. This is when Illinois was right around the top of the national rankings. Came in as a freshman, looked like a serious impact, but looked like a future lottery pick in the NFL or NBA. So Andre Curbelo's career seems to have come to an end. And I just want to read you some of the things that he went through. So again, impact player as a freshman, believe they won a Big Ten championship. He was on the Ayo Dosunmu team. He was a hugely important player there. So he had a cocaine problem at Illinois, allegedly threw equipment at the team manager on the bus after a loss, got a concussion having a drunk fight at Illinois, called a Washington fan a clown on Twitter, transfers to St. John's, gets a technical in his first minute of his first game, gets suspended from St. John's, has a press conference where there's only one question asked. The question is, why were you suspended? And he says, I don't know, after calling the press conference just to answer that question. He set a record for most times diving into the second row of the crowd. He juggled tennis balls for his warm-up. He ate popcorn on the bench during a game, gets kicked off of St. John's, lost his passport right before the team was about to travel internationally, gets into an altercation with his teammate, curses out El Salvador's coach in a preseason game, missed mandatory team meetings, made derogatory comments about the team trainer, had 4 meetings with the team's general manager about his behavior, unconfirmed rumors about escorts, transfers to Southern Mississippi, who, if you don't know anything about Southern Mississippi, they just last week, our friend Greg Peterson was telling me, they had to get a shot putter to come play for them because they had nobody else. A shot putter who had never played high school basketball put on a jersey and played in a game for them. So he gets a technical from the bench in his first game at Southern Miss. He then goes and sits in the stands with the fans, gets suspended indefinitely from Southern Miss, gets ejected in his final game after he was reinstated, gets another technical on the bench, and has now been kicked off the team.
Hell of a run for him.
The most interesting man in college basketball. I think that title is his.
There's some kids you just can't save. You know, that's what it comes down to. Like that you just can't save him. Like he had plenty of chances.
I want to go back and I want to look at what his numbers actually were at Illinois. So as a freshman, and keep in mind it's college, it's not the NBA, so numbers are a little bit different. But he averaged 9 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 50% from the field, and that Illinois team. Let me see if I can get their record really quick. 2020-21. Illinois that year was 24-7 overall, 16-4 in the conference. And again, I've said it a couple times, but I believe that's the year they won the conference championship. So that was the player we were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, he's only 6 feet tall and he doesn't weigh a lot. So I don't know if he was good or not. But you said he was good.
He was solid. I said he was their second best player. I forgot Kofi Coburn was on that team. So he was their third best player, but still third best player on a team that finished the year ranked second in the AP poll.
I mean, hey, good for him. Hell of a run. He can go play in China.
He will be. I don't know where he's going to play, but he's going to go down in the books for sure.
You can't pull that stuff in China, though.
LiAngelo Ball stole some sunglasses and it changed his whole life.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going. I would probably give up basketball if I was him. But anyways, Grant, that was Ride the Line. Take us out of here.
That is going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line, guys. Taryn and I appreciate you all being here. Please, before you click off of this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We've been getting a lot of views lately, but the subscribers are not going up just enough for our liking. So please hit that button. You will always be here. You'll see when we post our next episodes. And until next time, we will catch you all on the next episode of Ride the Line.